What's that I see as I walk through the rainforest of Costa Rica? I'm here taking a lovely hike through the jungle. I can hear the bird song, I can feel the steamy breeze on my face. I'm pushing back wet leaves. Suddenly I glance up into the tree and I see this thing that resembles a ball of greenish brown moss. What is this, a bee's nest? A big rotten piece of wood? Suddenly the ball starts to move and it turns the cutest white face with black eyeliner markings and orange eyeshadow stripes and a little smiling face towards me. What a strange creature. It looks kind of gross and moldy and covered in green algae at first, but then it has such an adorable face. The creature reaches out a long arm tipped with 3 scythe-like claws. Does anybody know what this creature could possibly be? It could only be the Bradypus variegatus, or 3-toed sloth that's found throughout Latin America. And why am I so enamored with the sloths, and why is it one of my lifelong dreams to actually meet a sloth and observe it in its natural habitat? Well, let me tell you all about sloths tonight. So sloths are medium-sized creatures, about yay big, and they spend their whole lives hanging upside down and in trees in the rainforest. The sloth is a very slow creature, but it's not slow because it's weak or clumsy or poorly adapted. On the contrary, the sloth is supremely well evolved to make the most of life in the rainforest canopy. Its kind of dark brown fur is streaked with green algae that colonizes its fur, and this serves as a natural camouflage for the animals, so it is not targeted by predators such as the harpy eagle and the ocelot, a type of wild cat. Those long claws and super long arms make it a very adept climber that's able to crawl through all kinds of complicated branches without ever losing its grip. Its cute round head is attached to a very long flexible neck, so it can twist itself all around like a contortionist to reach the leaves. And inside the sloth, it has a stomach like a cow's, made of several chambers with different kinds of specialized symbiotic bacteria that let it successfully digest and extract the nutrition out of even the toughest, most toxic rainforest leaves. So in other words, one of the reasons why I love the sloths is that it's a mix of practicality, cuteness, and also finding its own niche in the rainforest that no other animal would exploit. So I would like to say that one of my dreams is to get to observe this fascinating and unique creature in its natural habitat one day. Thank you very much.
How many of you have ever been to Costa Rica? Just got here then?
No, I haven't.
Oh.
I've never been there. That's something I wish I could do.
Oh, right, okay. In that case, imagine you are in an exotic location and you are with your family, and your little whoever is with you, maybe your son or daughter is oh, Mom, Dad, what's that over there in the tree? It looks like a big ball of moss or something. Well, that would be a sloth, and not just a sloth, but a Bradypus variegatus, a 3-toed sloth. And Katya gave an exceptional description of this fascinating beast, which shows that he has a very in-depth knowledge, and that he really, and personally I know that he really likes sloths, and I really liked how he used these descriptive languages to build the story of how the sloth appears in real life. In fact, when he says a gross green algae. I thought that it was just gross, but actually the green algae actually serves a purpose, which is the interesting twist towards the end, which is that they keep the predators at bay. And although I liked her expressive language, looking up at the trees and being mesmerized, she only used it at the intro. And while she did have some aspects of it during her towards the middle, I would have preferred like more slow movements during the middle, or something more expressive to keep that flow. The final recommendation I would give for Katya is to remain, keep a fixed stance, or use this posture and the stage to useful effect. Especially, she could have maybe used different body parts of the sloth as different places to be in the stage. Overall, he gave an extremely informational speech, and I hope that her sloth dreams come true.
What's that I see as I walk down the jungle? Colors, descriptive words, adjectives, metaphors is what Katya used to describe her favorite animal, the sloth. She wandered her head left to right, which I know about you, but personally, it really made me feel like I was in a jungle full of green at that very moment. And it made me wonder what this magnificent creature, the sloth, was, which I've personally never heard of before. Today, I will be evaluating her speech in three main parts: content, structure, and style. So let's start with content. She gave a very detailed description of the purpose of the speech, which was explaining what the sloth is and why she's so interested in it, and what it is that it means to her. In terms of structure, I really liked how she had three very clear points for her speech. She started with, what is a sloth? Then she moved on to why she likes them so much. And then finally, she outlined what she hopes to do with them in the future. So that was content and that was structure. Now moving on to the third point, style. She had a great tone variation. As always, she knows how to adjust it to emphasize certain words and scale it back to not emphasize the not so important words. She had a great use of hand gestures as always. I always like how she uses both her hands like very symmetrical way, which I think is very good and kind of makes the audience feel more relaxed with her speech overall. I have two recommendations for Katya overall. One of them falling in the category of content and the other falling in the category of style. In terms of content, I would like to hear more about her experiences with sloths. I obviously heard about a lot of descriptive words about this creature, but maybe her experiences. What was it that attracted her in the past? What did she do with them? Has she ever had a collection of these magnificent sloths? And finally, with style, I would like to recommend to try and avoid moving so much. So at first I thought it was good that as she walked down the hallway, but for the rest of the speech I would recommend she continue with her hand gestures, but try and only use a small part of the stage. Thank you.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, all about sloths. Katya's speech objective was to inform, and I think she informed quite well. We learned that sloths have super long arms, which make them adept at climbing. They can extract nutrition from toxic leaves. Don't try that at home. And their scientific name, the Bradypus variegatus. Truth be told, I didn't actually catch what Katya said. I had to Google the name when outside. And one other fact, sloths are very slow moving animals. Contrastingly, Katya was quite fast. and I think she could have paused more during her speech, allowing us to better take in, assimilate what she was saying. She gave a very vivid imagery, describing walking through the Costa Rican forest, and that very much allowed me to feel as if I was there. And she consolidated that further with the use of hand gestures, like when she said reaching out. And it was all quite natural, not forced, and it was well done. So overall, a good speech, and I'd recommend pausing more, but I'd say you met your speech objective.
All right.
First of all, I'd like to give a big round of applause to my speaker, Katia, in delivering an excellent speech. It's very hard to turn an informative speech into an engaging one, but she managed to do so. The very start, the introduction itself, she brought the audience in with an immersive opening. The rule of three is really, really useful in Toastmasters and in speaking, and she did that. She described 3 different things and talked about them, such as hearing the birdsong, brushing through the leaves, and seeing the beautiful caterpillar. That evokes a really good picture in our heads, I'm sure, and made us all really feel like we're there. I'll be breaking down her speech into 2 main areas of evaluation. Firstly, the content, and secondly, the style. Firstly, starting with the content, she had great content throughout, well-informed speech. She talked about different features, long arms, smooth skin, long neck, and the functions of these features, how it relates to the sloth being superior in many different ways, becoming an adept climber, helping it camouflage, the long neck helping it twist around. She used really good active vocabulary, which was like, again, being an adept climber, and she did a good job of presenting the necessary information in the time available. My only note to improve in that area would be perhaps, in terms of information, have more of a comparison to other animals. Why was the sloth more superior than the other animals? We heard advantages of the sloth in general, what it can do, but we didn't really get a comparison that was fair to understand why it was your favorite animal overall. Other than that, the content was brilliant. Moving on to style, she had a good positive tone throughout, very friendly, very engaging. She used vocal emphasis, such as long arms, creeping towards me, and this is really good, again. She had eye contact throughout, which is very good. And she had a good positive attitude, I think, which is, you can't say enough about, so it's great. The only things, again, small things just to help you improve your speech further, would be firstly, you said at one point about yay big, which is a bit of a colloquial use of vocabulary, therefore maybe perhaps say about that big, about, just very small. There's always alternatives that are more formal. Secondly, audience interaction. You could have asked us about what's your favorite animal? You could have brought in the audience to make it more interactive. And I think lastly, just the conclusion. The introduction was great, the content was great. The conclusion I felt was a bit abrupt. It just ended with you saying, so I'd like to observe the sloth in its natural habitat in the future. Instead, you could have said, to summarize, I believe the sloth is better than all the other animals because of X, Y, Z, and therefore, I think the sloth is something I'd really like to observe in the natural habitat. Overall, a great speech. Congratulations to my speaker, and I look forward to hearing more speeches from you.